So it's Monday, August. What date is it today? August 25th? Is it 24th? I don't even keep track of the time, but I know we're launching, we're having book launch 18th today, if I'm not wrong. And today we have our young author joining us in the studio. She's author to learn from history. This is why our award. But I also have my friend Molatelo Shikwane joining us. She's the mom of our other award-winning young author, the first Globuntubooks author. She always wants us to say that. She's the first and Pi is the second. The list continues. So welcome to Monday. Welcome to our um, month of August book launches. We made a commitment to showcase 27 books, 29 books in 27 days. We are keeping to the promise and telling our story. It's story time. August is actually Women's Month in South Africa. So we women, we mothers, we girls, we daughters of Africa, daughters and great granddaughters of Africa from the diaspora and the continent, we made it a point to tell the story of Africa. And we're telling it from one book to the other, we're telling it from one author to the other, and just showing you how complex, how exciting, how fascinating, how intriguing, how mysterious, and how heavy our story can be, the story of us Africans and the story of our country. So today we are launching and having the conversation around book 5. The title is What is Colonization? I don't know if you can see what is colonization. This book has been approved for schools in South Africa. And colonization, you may say, well, it happened so many years ago. You may say, it's 400 years ago, over 400 years ago. You may say we had independence, like some 60 or 62 years ago. But this is still very much impacting our life. Colonization is still very much a part of our daily life, the daily life of Africans on the continent and in the diaspora. And that part of that, the part of that history is what we're talking about today. Quite a lot of us, especially our young author here, and some of us were born after colonization has ended, but we are products of that colonization. And we experience it in every aspect of our life because it still affects us. It still affects us. And therefore, we think that it is so important that we know what this was all about. How deep were the wounds of colonization? How did it start? Where did it come from? Who were the colonizers and who were colonized? What did it mean to be a colony? What did it mean to be a colonizer? How did it how did it go on? How was it? I get emotional when I got to talk about this topic. So you excuse me if I start stuttering because it's just because I think I feel the weight so much, having done research to pick up the pieces that I picked to write the book that I wrote, and knowing that the story is much bigger. So my name is Ankreta Beatrice Achaleke. I am the serial author of the Africa for Smart Kids book series and the publisher of Globuntubooks. Today, my guest in studio is my friend, and she's always on my journey. She and I will journey together from afar and from near. It's my friend Molatelo Shikwane. And our sister friend and award winner, Pauline, should be joining us from Japan at any one moment from now. And online, I see we also have our sister. We sisters, we flock together. You can't, you just can't have one of us without having the other. So I see my other sister, now I'm getting confused. My other sister, Cornelia, because she joined today with another profile, with another name. I see my sister, Cornelia from Germany, has joined also. So she says, greetings to you, powerful women on the move. Yes, we are on the move, and we're so happy to have you join us, even though we know you have a very heavy agenda out there. Beatrice can talk. Now, over to you, my friend. Take it and quickly introduce yourself and tell us what is your pick book and on colonization.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Molatelo Shikwane. I'm here with Beatrice and our young author, Mpaile Kalakala, and expecting Pauline to join us anytime. And yeah, it's good to be back here. And like Beatrice has said, our topic today is colonization, and we are on book 5. I think we started the journey with book 1, going through Africa, topic by topic. So the topic, like she said, is a heavy one. I read the book today, and it's still going around in my mind because the topic is a heavy one, and like she said, it impacts every area of our life, whether we like it or not. Colonization, it's still here with us. We can see the remnants of it around us. And as we are in South Africa and a South African. For South Africa, I guess we had colonization, and on top of that, there was apartheid. So it was a double whammy for us as South Africans to have experienced this systematic forms of oppression for Black people. So, yeah, that's what we are talking about today, colonization. I don't know where you want us to start, my friend. This is
Listen,
a
my
book
friend, I
that
think
we.
this topic is it is so big that we can't
Mm,
even decide where to start. But I think the most important thing is talking about it.
mm,
Whether we start from the middle, from the top, or from the bottom, the most important thing is that we talk about it. We talk about it from our perspective. We talk about it from our
mm,
experiences. Talk about it from how we feel it. How we feel this. And we're here today not to complain. No, we've gone past that. We're here just to talk
yeah.
history. We're here to unveil
Mm,
history. We're here to get to understand our history and to understand
mm,
how this history impacts us. Because there's a lot of talk out there about decolonizing education. And I
mm,
think it is right. So we got to decolonize education, but before we decolonize education, we have to start by decolonizing our minds. And in order to decolonize, my friend, we got to know what is it that we're decolonizing. What is the content of this word colonization? What is the
mm,
content? What does it entail? How
mm,
is it rolled out? What is the master plan of colonization, and how does it
mm,
affect our mind, our subconscious mind? It's there in a very subtle way. We see the remains of all of this. And so in order to
mm,
decolonize education, we got to decolonize our minds, and then we decolonize education, and through that we decolonize structures, because decolonization has to happen in the economy, it has to happen in politics, it has to happen in social affairs, in culture. Look at the videos, look at our TV. What is it that we consume today? It has to happen there. It has to happen on our markets. What are we buying? What is it that we're buying? What is it that we're consuming? It has to
mm,
happen in the language, in our choice of language. What choice of
mm,
words we use every day, and how does that relate
mm,
to colonization? How far is
mm,
that? Uh, I can't even find a word. How how
mm,
how far is that a part of colonization? Okay, so this is what it is for me. I don't know what your take is. Where do we start colonizing, and how do we proceed with it,
mm,
and how does decolonization look like?
mm. You know, it, sometimes we're not even aware of the things that you do. Like you said, it's an unconscious thing, things that we do, how we speak, how we
Mm-hmm,
dress as well. Because when it came, it changed
mm-hmm,
everything about who we are as a people. And for us who were born after this period, we seem not to even care about our identity because it's easy to just adopt what is here without wanting to look back. Like we have to know our histories. Some people used to say until you understand where you come from, you cannot chart a
mm-hmm,
better future for ourselves, for yourself. So I think it's important for us to go back, understand what it is, how it started, how then we'll be able to understand how it's impacting our today. Because I think it's going to impact even along before we can even decolonize it. We cannot be speaking about education only, even though it's
mm-hmm,
the biggest system, because we can see it in our education system how it matches that of the oppressor. We can look at our parliamentary systems, which still
mm-hmm,
emulates that of the oppressor. And as I know, as Africans, we had before colonization, we had our own ways of governing. But to date, even many years after colonization, we are still using the same systems that the oppressor came here with. So yeah, it's very hard to decide where to start, but yeah, decolonization is it's an important concept, but we have to understand colonization first. And the other thing I think it's having our children, like we have in Kalakala here with us, our children understanding, because for us, even though we came after that period, in our books, in our history books, there was never a talk of the things that I find reading this book. Like we don't really know how much damage happened in our continent when people decided to scramble for Africa. So I think the other important aspect is to teach it to our kids, upcoming generations, to know it before we can have even come up with the tools of deconstructing the whole thing in every area of our life. Like you said, our markets, our education, our languages, and the culture that we so willingly undertaken over that which is African.
Mm, mm. My friend, again, it's a very complex topic. There are moments when I ask myself the question, what kind of conversation would we Africans be having had we not been colonized? You know, and attached to that is also, the realization, why did they come? Why did the colonizers come? Why did they stay for so long? you know
Mm,
when you look at, when you pick pieces of our history, from, especially the ancestors who were taken into enslavement and taken abroad, they took with them some pieces of history. And today,
mm,
with the internet, we have access to some pieces of history that we did not have at school, that is not so made available to us. And when you put pieces
mm,
together, you see African empires, you see African civilizations, you see
mm,
African greatness. Africa was so great at the time.
mm,
And I tend to think the colonizers decided to stay here and to
mm.
destroy this civilization because it was something great, it was something big, it was something massive. When you
Yes.
follow history and you go back to the Khmer kingdom and all of that, look at the empire of Sondiata, look at the empire of Mali, the empire of Ghana, look at, the great lead rulers that we had, look at the great queens and kings that we
Mm,
had back then. And then when you look at how that was torn apart and how the
yes.
colonizers, 7 European countries, 7, stayed
Seven.
on the continent for over 400 years. You think
Mm,
there must be something here. It could
mm.
it can not have been the jungle that they say it is. If
Oh,
it was a jungle, it would not have stayed for that long.
it
And again, when
have.
you see the pieces, when you go to the museums, when you look at some books, when you go online and you pick the pieces, you realize that there was something here that attracted them, that kept them here. And because this thing was so great, they had to destroy it so that we don't grow to see. They had to destroy it to put in place a system that will
Mm,
make us like they came to civilize us. They came
mm,
to save us. They came
mm,
to educate us. And I think this is something that we must be very careful about when we're
mm.
talking colonization. To say what was there, why did they stay for so
Well,
long, and where would we be had they not come? So I don't know
mm.
whether these questions have crossed your mind.
Same as I was going through the book to say what was so attractive about Africa then. And it's still keeping them even here today, not just then. After
Mhm.
colonization they left, but they are still coming back here on our continent. What is it about this continent? What is it about its people, its resources, and everything else put together that keeps them coming for more and not going? And the question here will always arise about how our way of doing things before they came with their ways of doing things. And I like the characters in the book. I was taken aback when the questions that they are asking about uh, the how like the amount of punishment that they were giving to people so that they subdue them.
Mhm.
How could they easily just surrender their power, their majesty? Like you are saying, we had monarchs, we had queens. How did they easily surrender their majesty, who they were, to this unknown? Because it was different from who they were. Was it the use of fear mongering, or what was it that made people just easily surrender? And to have years later the people that were starting to resist. So those are the questions that I had, like your characters in the book. How could it have happened so easily? And what was it that they brought that made the majesty of our kings, our queens, our monarchs to just say these people are better than us? So there are those
That takes
that are the questions that. Mm.
Yes, my friend, and that takes us to the book. It takes us to the book as usual. We want to open the book, not just, or show the title on the screen. We want to go into the
Yes.
book and see what in the book, because when you walk the book with us, you will see some of these things, and you can create your own opinion. You will have your own opinion when you see. And I'm hoping very much, my friend, that people who listen to our conversation, people who read this book, that the book again is an invitation to go do your own research. This is not
Correct.
what this is not all of what colonization is. This is just a perspective. This is what my two eyes and those of my characters see. But we have so many pairs of eyes. And if our many pairs of eyes will go out in search of our history, if we all go out to dissect this word colonization to see what it all meant, how it was organized and why it is still part of our daily lives today and will still continue to be that of our children, our great grandchildren, then you will begin to understand. So I encourage everyone to not just read this book, go do your own research. There is a lot of information out there. Put the pieces together. Talk with elderly people in your family. If some of them went through this time, talk to them, collect family history, and see where the position of your family in this colonization history. So that said, my friend, if you allowed me, I would just share the screen and go into the manuscript again. So we just walk through some of the pieces that I was able to put together in this book 5. Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm going to go to application and I will pick book 5. Let me see. I will pick book 5. Where is it? It's this one. So go back to the screen. Excuse me, people. I'm trying to pick the manuscript, but I will definitely get there. And my friend, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so that is Africa for Smart Kids, Book 5. The big question is, what is colonization? And again, I will just pass through these formalities of what a book is. Again, we like to share as we move along. Those of you who are watching, you already see how a book is normally built, the elements of books. Those of you who become writers, I'm sharing this deliberately so you see some of the, how a book is constructed. Now, we will stop right here at the table of contents, right here. The table of content. And again, we meet our storytellers. We understand Mosquito Zangalo's challenge. And then the first chapter is what is colonization? How did colonization start? What is independence? How did why did African countries need their independence? Who fought for the independence of Africa? What should I read next? It's always that question at the end of every conversation. And in the book, as usual, I always have quotes in the book. So to give you another perspective of the story, but other opinions from some scholars and people who are influential people. So here, this one is from Tariq Ramadan, who says the only way to resist colonization is through education. And this is what we're trying to do. And the quote that really got me writing these books, my friend, is this one. I'm trying to fulfill a little bit of the dream of, realize a little bit of the dream of Patrice Lumumba when he said, and this is the letter that he wrote, this is an extract from the letter that he wrote to his wife from prison before he was executed. He said, history shall one day have its say, but it will not be history that is taught in Brussels, Paris, Washington, or in the United Nations, but the history will be taught in the countries freed from imperialism and its puppets. So he said one day Africa will tell its story, and I'm just trying to, contribute to that. So from there, we see the Yes, please.
No, I was saying the time is now when the African children are putting together those stories and telling it from their own perspectives. Because what we have read in school, it's from the oppressor's perspective, how our history is being told. But when it comes from the descendants of the great giants like Patrice Lumumba, it will then resonate with people that went through the system of colonialism.
Yes. And, my friend, I will say children of Africa have been writing. A lot of
Mm,
children of Africa have been writing stories from different perspectives. Every generation contributes
mm,
from a different perspective based on their
mm,
realities and based on their experiences. So
mm,
the generation before us, some contributed in their way, some contributed orally, some
mm.
contributed written pieces. When you read Chino Achebe, when you read,
Yes.
Ngugi Waton, when you read
Mm,
Bessie Head, some of all the sons and daughters of Africa, when you read Kamara Lai, the
mm,
African child, they contributed from the context where they were in their own
mm,
way. When you read Wole Soyinka and a
mm,
host of other writers, so we're just stepping into their footsteps. And here
mm,
Kwame Nkrumah said, "A state in the grip of neocolonialism is not master of its own destiny. It is the
mm,
fact which makes neocolonization such a serious threat to world peace." So
mm,
there is another book that in which we'll be talking about the Black wisdom. So I will not comment on that because it will come in the other book. And again, Globuntu books always give the readers a guide that
mm,
allows you to know how to best explore this book. Um, and the different, gives you hints on what you can do and challenges you also to do other things. Now, this is the King of Belgium, the one who was one of the cruelest colonizers. When you see
mm,
the history of DRC, this guy did atrocities, committed atrocities. This is what he had to say: "I do not want to miss a good chance of getting us a slice of the magnificent African cake."
mm. That
Now,
is what.
my friend, I want you to be conscious of this word, magnificent.
Yes.
Magnificent. So this already tells you about the glories that Africa was. It tells
Yes.
you something about what was Africa then. This is why
Mm,
they had to scramble for Africa. And I
mm,
need for every Africans to look for, where were we back then? Where were our ancestors when the colonizers came? I think
mm,
for me, there's an important key there that we need to find in order to understand how great we were and should be. Okay.
mm. Be
So
proud.
John Clark says the cruelest thing that slavery and colonization did to the Africans was to destroy their memory of who they were before foreign contact.
Wow.
This is so
Wow.
important. This is so
Mm,
important. We need to
it
go in
is.
search of memories. We
Mm,
must go into those memories. So, and again, here you have the preface is written by my very early bird readers. This is Laura
mm,
and Charlie. They're my cousins in the US and the UK. And my friend, let me read what he writes. What Charlie writes. I think he was 10 years old when he wrote this. I enjoyed this series a lot. It inspires me to know these positive things about Africa. As I have never been to Africa, I used to believe the negative images portrayed about Africa. However, now I see the inner beauty of Africa, and I think my parents were fortunate to grow up there.
mm.
Okay,
This is
so this is coming from a young child of 10 years old, and this is
mm,
what allowed me to write these books. So I don't want to read all
mm,
of that, but this is what Charlie's elder sister says. As a child that
mm,
has a strong African background but doesn't fully understand their culture, this book was a great asset to me. It enlightened me on topics like constituencies to confident African leaders. The book really does show readers about how the sparkling potential and skills Africa has encrusted in its history. These
mm,
are kids
mm.
talking. This is a 12 years old child of African descent, born in the UK, who by then had never been in an African country. So this
Mm,
encourages me to write. I don't want to
mm,
read all the quotes in there. The foreword was written by my long-term sister friend, Odette Ndumbe. I knew her from Cameroon. She and we knew each other like 18 years before I wrote this book. When she set
mm,
eyes on the Africa for Smart Kids series, she said like, oh my God, I just have to be part of this journey. And Odette translated the first books, book 1, 2, and 3, into French already. So we have them in French. And Odette encountered some challenges. And so she is catching up on some other things in her life. And I'm still hoping very much that I'll get her back on the journey, because she was a very important part of this journey. Okay. So now we go down to the book. You'll see some quotes again. This one is from Obama. The worst thing that the colonization did was to cloud our view of our past. So, and there we get to meet our storytellers. We meet our storytellers as usual. I'm not going to introduce them, but they're growing through the books. When you read about them, you see they have missions in this book. They're growing through the book. And the Mosquito Zangalo challenge changes. It becomes a challenge for adults, because one of my readers said to me, "Oh, I need this book for my children. I want them to be occupied." And I had to think like, no. Mosquito Zangalo has to challenge parents to sit down with their children and talk with them. Read the book, talk with them, tell them your story, tell them your family story, tell them about where you come from, especially if you don't live in the culture where you come from. Okay, so I had to adopt the challenge and make Zangalo challenge adults this time. So first chapter is what is colonization, and in there the characters Nguisse, Prince Fuareke, and Atabong, they are asking questions they want to understand. And I will not read all of this to you. I just want to walk you through the book, so you can follow their conversations. You know what is in the book if you want to get this book. And I want to read this quote from Desmond Tutu. When the missionaries came to Africa, they had the Bible and we had the land. They said, let us pray. We closed our eyes, and when we opened them, we had the Bible and they had our land. And I think this coming from a South African, spiritual leader and influencer, tells us a whole lot. Land issues are still quite a big topic in South Africa. We don't want to go there right now. So this picture just illustrates to you how, this colonizer stands across Africa as if it is his property. That's how they thought about. Here we have a picture of the Queen inspecting the Queen's battalion. It's called the Second Battalion of the King. So-called the Battalion of
Africa.
King's Africa. Yeah, so it's incredible that this woman, she sits in that country of hers out there, and she stretches her powers across a whole continent. And she comes to inspect. Wow. She doesn't even understand the language. She doesn't even understand the culture. She doesn't even. But she's my friend. It just gets me. I get really, really emotional when I see all of this. I don't know how you
feel. I do. When I saw there was one picture in the book where this man carrying, I think it's the Queen across the river, and
yes,
she's just relaxed like that, and they are at the danger of being injured, but no.
Yes.
And what the other thing that stuck with me was that these people came here, they never learned our languages, but we knew theirs, which means we were in a powerful position to sit together and talk about them and destroy them, because they wouldn't even have a clear what is it that we're talking about. So,
my friend, your mic is coming and going. I don't know. There's something wrong with your sound, but I do agree with you. This is what makes me say, as Africans, we come from a higher space of spirituality, a higher space of morality, because we had all the chances. We had all the chances. Knowing their languages, they could have almost no secrets from us. When you look at in South Africa, where women who took care of colonizers' children, cooked for them, were everywhere in their houses. If they were ill-intentioned, so much would have happened. So much revenge would have happened. And I think, my friend, in this book, this is why my storytellers, they, at one point they're asking the question and say, just imagine history was different. Just imagine it happened differently. if Africans colonized Europe, what do you, what do you think the reality would be like today? What would reality be like today? The question is, if why are the colonizers and their great grandchildren so afraid when we talk about racism, when we talk about this history? Some people say the fear of retaliation. When we know the intensity of the atrocities of their ancestors and theirs today, we may revenge. But we Africans come from a space of revenge. We don't come from that space.
Not who we are.
And that also tells you, that also tells you something about the colonizers, right? If fear retaliation, it means had it been the other way around, there would have been a lot of retaliation from the side, from that side. Okay, I don't want to skip this picture. Some of these pictures there, when I saw them, I questioned myself whether I should put the pictures in the book. And then I spoke to my son who is born in Austria. She said to me, Mom, we go to the Holocaust Museum and we see all kinds of horrible pictures. Even though I was not born at that time, even though I'm a child of African descent, we should also know the atrocities that happened in our history. Put the pictures in. This was my 14 years old son talking to me. So I had to put some of this. You see, this man is sitting here. The hands of his child were chopped off and served to him as a warning to other Africans and also to him. And the reason was because he did not meet the target of the cocoa production that he was supposed to deliver, the rubber production that he was expected to deliver. And in order for them to punish you, they chop off the hands of your little girl or your little boy and serve it to you. How cruel! How cruel is that? Right here, you see, these are also fingers of Africans chopped off. Africans had to carry them to make them so that they know that they see the warning. It could be you the next time. These are fingers of Africans. And you see, they colonizers standing there like a trophy, emotionless. And I think see these pictures. Right here, they are the heads. The heads have been cut off. And look at that one. Look at that one. It's like it's a game. But these are our people. And again, this is just a piece of history. Here, there are young women whose hands have been chopped off also because they don't meet the target of the production that was expected from them. And they were not being paid for this. Little girls, these are little girls. They're also chopped off. This is from Belgian Congo. They used to call it Belgian Congo, now DRC. These are some of the atrocities of King Leopold of Belgium and his people. And I think we got to speak about this. We got to really, really bring this to the light and let our people know what happened. Okay. So this is a quote from Che Guevara. Che Guevara was a very good friend of Africa. I think he was one who had to fight also for the liberation of his country from America. So I don't want to read that quote. I just want to walk you quickly through the book because again, this is a very intensive quote. But I'll read this one from John Clarke. He says, "In Africa, the woman's place was not only with her family. The woman's place was not only with her family. She ruled nations with unquestionable authority. Many African women were great militaries and on occasion led their armies in battles. The Africans had produced a civilization where men were secured enough to let women advance as far as their talents, royal lineage, and prerogatives would take them." So when you see gender inequalities in Africa today, that is not our system. That is a leftover of the system that was installed in Africa, because the one that John Clarke is talking about is the one that was destroyed and replaced with what we have today. And if you go into the conversation, my friend, you see when they institutionalized cash crop farmings in African countries, it meant that men were the ones to undertake cash crop farming. By cash crop, it means those crops that could be sold for money, and they were mostly exported: coffee, cocoa, rubber, cotton, and all of that. They were the priorities of the man, and the woman was reduced to doing subsistence agriculture, which was just enough to feed the family. This is part of how the system, the master plan worked, and we got to understand that.
Abolished doing things, yes.
Yes. So how and why did colonization happen? So the conversation and the questions, they go on in there, and you can read them for yourself, how it happened. But we're talking about, how the Europeans first discovered Africa and how they walked into Africa, how they came from there into the continent, and, how the whole process went with the colonization and the division. It started with the explorers, then the missionaries, and then, of course, the colonizers. When they saw what they saw here and they liked it, they loved it, they sent messages home, and many more came, and they came with a plan. So Lupita says what colonialism does is cause an identity crisis about one's own culture. There's some quotes there again from Lumumba and from a couple of others. There are pictures in there that will show you. This is from France. Afrique, you see, it's like a piece of cake on the table, and there is the Berlin Conference. This is like the Berlin Conference setting where they're dividing Africa amongst the 7 European countries. Okay, so my storytellers, they will continue and ask questions and find answers and seek explanations and express their feelings, carry on the conversation. Here we have Kwame Nkrumah, who says, divided we are weak, united Africa could become one of the greatest forces of good in the world. So these are people who lived through colonization. They knew how Africa was. And check and tag Job. I'm not going to read this because we will find him when we do the book on African wisdom. So now let's look at the 7 European countries that colonized Africa. So Britain alone took 30% of the cake that covered Africa. France took 15%. Portugal had 11%. Germany 9%. Belgium 7%. And Italy had 1%. Okay, so I don't want to go into that, but here you see the map of Africa in 1880, how Africa was. It was not yet divided the way it was before the colonization came in. This was 1913. The colonizers had set in, and you see this is, that blue part there is France. This one, the pink, is the United Kingdom, and that's how Africa was partitioned among the 7 European countries. So this is by 1914, and we know 1914, that was it the first world? I don't want to say anything wrong right here. So that is how Africa looked by 1914. It was already divided. You could see, Belgium is the gray part. This is especially here, they call it Belgian Congo. It's not even Congo. They call it Belgian Congo. So it's Belgium's property.
They take your identity as well.
Right, right.
And attach theirs.
Right, so you become a property. That's why the currency is attached to French francs, and we're speaking English today, so we're speaking their language. Our languages, I still have to find out how our languages were, how our ancestors were communicating before we were colonized and given this colonial language that you and I speak in today. But that is how Africa looked then after the colonization set in by 1914. And if you look at 1945, after the Second World War, it was already a separate thing. There were some slight changes there because after the First World War, the Germans lost. So the Germans' territory in Africa had to be divided. They had the famous Berlin Conference, and the territories of Germany that were occupied by Germany had to be redivided among the other powers. So I mean the other colonizers. I don't even call them powers, the other colonizers. And this is why Cameroon, Cameroon was formerly Germany, under Germany, colonized by Germany. And after the World War I, it was divided between the French and the English. So this is how we were divided back and forth, depending on what was happening in Europe, and no one paid attention as to what is it that we wanted. We were just a piece of cake, and I don't know how I should feel when I look at all of this. So the conversation will continue there, and some quotes. This is Emperor Haile Selassie, who fought against the colonization of Ethiopia by the Italians. He fought and fought. So he says history teaches us that unity is strength, and cautions us to submerge and overcome our differences in the quest for common goals, to strive at all, with all combined strength for the path of true African brotherhood and unity. This is another picture. You see an African washing the feet of the colonizers. They're all lining up, carrying stuff for them. I don't want to know how it was then for them. This is this one sitting there, being carried across the river. There could have been crocodiles and anything there. And, they let themselves be carried around like the kings and the queens. And I think this was an abuse of African hospitality. When you people welcome you, people, admit you, they let you in, and then you turn around to treat them this way. It's heartbreaking.
It is.
Now we are talking about independence. This is the map of African independence. You see when each one of the African countries became independent. Independence broke out around 1958, and Ghana was the first African country to regain its independence. And my friend, when I was writing this book, there was one editor who is, I think he's British or he's white in any sense. So I got him to proofread this book, and he was like correcting and said they gained independence. I said no, they regained independence because they were independent before you guys. They regained independence. So we want to be very careful about the language that we're using.
The language that we use.
Yes.
They didn't want to accept the fact that Africa was free of everything before the colonizers came.
Yeah. So there's some quotes there, and I don't want to go there now. I'm taking the kids in the midst of the heavy conversation. I'm taking them back to history, how communication was like, because our children are so used to the smartphone these days, right? So I'm telling them we used to use the post office. Letters and communication used to go via post office. It used to take time. The telegram. I don't know what I'm. Did you know the telegram?
I knew, but I've never seen it. But so I knew there was a telegram.
This is how the telegram was. I wanted, I didn't go out of topic. I deliberately wanted to show the kids, where we come from. Airmail envelope. This is what it was. And when you look at the stamps, we used to use stamps. This is a stamp from Nigeria. This is one from Cameroon. Nowadays, we don't use stamps. We use emails and text messages and WhatsApp and what do we know. Here, this one says Belgian colonial stamp, British colonial stamp. And I mean, I'm laughing, but this is really no cause for laughter. There is no cause for laughter.
No, but yeah.
So in this chapter, it says, why did Africans need their independence? And you see the storytellers, the detectives, they will take you through different arguments why it was so important for Africans to gain their independence. And here, Jomo Kenyatta, who was the president of Kenya, says, our children may learn about heroes of the past. Our task is to make them architects of the future. And so you still see quite a lot of stuff from, this is from Steve Biko. We as Blacks cannot forget the fact that Christianity in Africa is tied up with the entire colonial process. This meant that Christians came here with a form of culture which they called Christianity, but which in effect was Western and which expressed itself as an imperial culture as far as Africans were concerned. So I put this in there just for the readers to have a different perspective of other schools of thought. What some Africans, some revolutionary Africans, freedom fighters thought about then. This is Kwame Nkrumah in his very traditional, beautiful dress on the day of Ghana's first independence. See, look at this glory. Look at this royalty, my friend. Just look at this. After they've gone through 400 years of colonization, look at this.
It's so beautiful. And I'm asking myself, really, why are we ashamed of all these beauties? How the colonization worked to say everything that is ours is inferior and theirs is superior. I was looking at that picture as well. And even now, when you look at our dress, whenever we dress for occasions, it's so colorful, it's so beautiful, it's just full of life.
This is that mind, that decolonizing the mind that we spoke about, that we have to decolonize the mind. We have to rediscover who we were, who we are, and embrace who we are in
For
all
the
of our glory, in all of our glory. I will focus on glory because we haven't acknowledged our glory enough. So in this chapter, they're talking about who fought for independence, and they're going to different countries and checking some of the freedom fighters. There are just so many of them that we can't even enumerate all of them. So, but they're just picking a few and also inviting the readers to go in their countries and do your own research. Who fought for the independence of your country. Okay, so I'll take you just this is like the end of this particular book. After it has taken you to different corners, it just introduces the next book, and then the Mosquito Zangalo challenge, and some of the important links. Some of the links were from where I got the information in this book from, that you may want to go there and check. And Madiba says, I dream of an African that is at peace with itself. And I could not close. This was for me the perfect word to close this book. And yes, so this is the colonial journey that this book is taking you through. I see on Facebook, Grace, my sister, is saying, Sis Anqueta, you really know African history. No, my sister, I'm still learning. I'm still learning. There's so much. African history is so rich and so deep that you can't really know all of it. Even if you spend your whole life learning. My friend, I know you have to juggle. I know you have to juggle your mom's roles.
As I was reading this book and thinking of what we have learned, I see, even though colonialization is such a heavy topic, the way you have put it in this book for kids, it will make it easy for them to learn while having fun, while learning new skills of doing research, finding out more information. It is so interactive. At some stage, I was laughing at the conversation between the siblings when they wanted to be the best, but there are questions and the responses that we get from the storyteller Prince. It's educational, it's fun, it's informative. So that is, I would like every child who wants to know about Africa, where we are coming from, why we are where we are, to just read this book, and even the family can have fun with what the mosquito is, the challenges that he comes up with, so that we can just talk about it as a family and learn and embrace who we are. So it's a very, very exceptional book for me from where I am sitting. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I wrote it the way I would have loved to read again, and I wrote it with as a mom, as a mother, as a daughter of Africa, but also as a mother. I'm just thinking like, how do we get our children to read this heavy material? They're used to, this generation is very fast. They go very
Yeah.
fast, and they want easy stuff. They want pictures. They want it has to be fun. Otherwise, they lose it, and they say, "Oh, I was not there. It happened in
Yeah.
my absence." And as long as our children think that they were not part of colonization, they didn't experience it, the impact of colonization will keep affecting all of us. We got to go right back there to the place of history and pick it up from there. Understand how it happened, understand how the master plan worked, how it is impacting us today, so we can make some adjustments, so we can allow our minds to
Yeah.
decolonize, or proactively decolonize our minds, decolonize our education, decolonize our consumption habits and choices, decolonize our lifestyle and embrace who we are, but also look out for those elements of the glory of Africa and uplift it, bring it to the daylight, spotlight it, so that we understand it, so that we celebrate it, so that we get pride from there. When we know, writing these books, I see what I see, and I see what our people went through, and we're still standing. We're still standing, and people are still coming. You see how powerful the shoulders that we stand on are. My friend, you were saying something. Sorry.
I'm saying we are so resilient. And what I like about because you said something about our higher level of spirituality. Even though bad things happened to
Mm-hmm.
us, to our ancestors, we are still standing and we are still welcoming, we are still laughing.
Mm-hmm.
So it says something about us as a nation, and we are not a vengeful bunch, because even with apartheid, it has done a lot of damage to us here, but we still live side by side with the
Mm,
people that has oppressed us. So it says a lot about who we are, and we need to be proud of that. And what this book does, it's showing kids that you don't have to feel small that you have got a darker skin, because nowadays we are living in times of colorism, racism, and all those things that make one to be ashamed to be African. Because the stories that we hear about Africa most of the time in the news and everywhere are negative ones. But books like this are showing us the other side to say there is something about good about Africa that made the whole of Europe to come scrambling here, but they
mm,
keep telling us that we are inferior, we are everything. So we need to dig in our past, find the things that we can take, hold them forward to be proud in. And the other thing that I like about this book is most of the time we read books that are theoretical and whatnot, that will want you to even have a dictionary to understand some of the words. But this one, it's so simple to follow, even how colonization is described, how independence is described, who are the the people that fought for independence. So the way the story is unfolding makes it easy for one to follow, even for a child, because you need they keep on wanting to know more. Why this? Why that? Then you keep on turning the page to discover the
mm,
Africa that is not talked about in
mm.
the
Thank
big bedrooms of those Washington ever. Like we are told corrupt, Africa is, you know, yeah. I just loved the book so much. Mm,
Thank you so much. I had fun writing it. I had fun writing it. And again, when you have to deal with heavy material, you got to find a way to transport it in a way that is not heavy for people who have to receive it. So that was my intention. And if it comes across that
mm,
way, then I'm very happy. Again, it's just a starting point. There is still
mm,
so much that we can write about colonization. And I just wish that the kids that read and people that read, do your own research, even if you're not writing, do your own research and have your own perspective from that.
mm,
And talking about that, I see my
mm,
brother, Sekosa the philosopher, is asking, where can we get the book,
mm,
Sisby? You can get it straight from me, or you can get it from my friend Molatello. Whenever you want, you will have the book. I have some copies printed at home. But as serious, you can also go on the website www.globuntubooks.com. You'll find most of the books there. What we're going to do is, after this book launches, we want to set up a school. It's called My School of Africa, where we can share this knowledge in an appropriate way, not launching a book, but take the kids through the different stages. Also adults, so we get to know this history and reflect on it. So if
mm,
anyone is interested, please, you want to inbox us, you want to go on Globuntubooks, you can use the contact form. You're interested in this, project of starting a digital school where we can get children to do this, not just reading the books, but doing research and eventually writing their own books. At Globuntu Books, we support young authors, we groom them, and we help them to write and publish their books. So we
mm,
encourage you to, join the conversation, join the learning train. This history we all need. It is our responsibility to know that history. It is our responsibility, and I think one person, two people, one country cannot do it. It's a collective thing, and we are
yes,
sending out an invite at Globuntu Books. My
mm,
friend, I know you have to go pick up our young author from school. I want to
mm,
say this. Tomorrow we are topping on this. We're continuing the journey. The book
mm,
that we're launching tomorrow, the title is What is Enslavement?
mm,
Enslavement is a product of colonization, and
yes,
enslavement happened in different forms. So some happened on ground, some of our ancestors were taken across. So tomorrow in the conversation, we will be taking a look at what is enslavement, how did it happen, how did our ancestors live from Africa to the diaspora to the different destination where they were, how did the journey look like for them, and I hope that Pauline will be on this conversation because she knows, being someone who is born in the diaspora, she will bring another perspective of this conversation. And I think when you read the book,
mm,
no, in the book of the enslavement, the book tomorrow, you get to meet some African leaders who fought. They fought against colonization. They fought against enslavement. And I'm looking forward to that conversation tomorrow. So, my friend, before you do your chores, your final word.
Yeah, I'm just excitedly looking forward to tomorrow's interactions. And my friend, this was recommended by the Department of Education. And are they already reading it?
This one, yes, it should be in schools now. It should be in schools this year. Yes.
I just hope that the teachers use this as a workbook so that kids can, it's exciting when they get given assignments to come and do as well. Because maybe sometimes on their own they might not, but if teachers can use this and give kids assignments, and then it will be easier for families to also do that. So from every front, we need to put African history in the forefront so that it's something that we talk about. It's something that we get discussed because it is our heritage. It is our birthright to know so that we can grow from this. So
yes.
I had.
Absolutely. So these books are not in all the schools in Gauteng because I think they just go to selected non-paying schools. So if you're a teacher or a parent and you're one of the non-paying schools, please check in your school library if you have some of these books and encourage your children to read them. I see our sister Cornelia says, I feel like being in a history class again. Sis, we all feel that way. And I must say, I did not know all these things. It's my curiosity that gets me doing research and writing these books. I am learning and sharing at the same time. And I think if I can do that, I think a lot of us can do it as well. So please, wherever you are, use your position, use your influence, use your presence to teach our history to the people around you. Because if we don't, no one will. If we expect someone to come unleash this history for us, it will never, ever happen. So it falls upon us. And, I want to say Mandela once said, it falls upon a generation. Sometimes it falls upon a generation to be great. You can be that generation. So let your greatness blossom. And I think there are words of wisdom that invite us to do little great acts wherever we are at any one moment.
Thank you so much, my friend. I know I have to leave. The school is coming out at 2. I had fun, and I'll definitely join tomorrow's conversation on enslavement so that we can continue on this journey. Yeah. Thank you so much. For those who are listening to us from wherever you are, we can continue this communication on Facebook, and then we can engage and learn from each other, do our own research. Let's be proud of who we are as Africans, because honestly, we are standing on shoulders of the greatest of giants, the most resilient of a people. So we are descendants to this amount of history, and it is something for us to be proud about. Thank you so much for affording me this opportunity, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you for always joining in. It's fun always when we do it together. So while my friend goes to follow her duties of a mom to pick up our young author from school, I just want to put it out there again for you. If you're on Facebook and you like the page, you like the information that we're sharing, you like the conversation, the challenges, the questions, please share the page. Continue to share the page. I see we have reached over 12,000 people since we started launching these books. This is really, really great. We want to reach many more people. And please engage, listen, type, share, text, ask questions. Tell us what is it that you want us to talk next. Write it in what you want us to talk about. If you have something to share, please reach out to us and let us know. As long as it is part of African history, African culture, we would love to hear from you. So again, it was another history day, like my sister from Germany says. We take leave of all of you from Facebook. Have a wonderful day. Know your history, know your heritage, and be proud of it. And we will see you tomorrow in another book launch. We'll talk about enslavement tomorrow. So have a wonderful day. Thank you, my sister. Thank you, ladies. She says, thank you, ladies, for having us. Thank you, sister, for joining us. So have a wonderful day. My friend, go pick up my young author from school. Bye.
Thank you.